welcome to the Meeting with HR podcast. You are Head of Employee Performance and Experience at Miro.
I loved the product before I joined. I love seeing the product. What it is now genuinely blows my mind. It's taken over my life.
Your experience, then you're trying to almost fix what you didn't have.
That somebody said, will you do it then?
That's an amazing journey.
The trauma of going through it, the survivor guilt, it's very easy to look at things and go, that's not how you should do it.
You came to it with a bit of frustration.
I mean, the fact it will eventually destroy humanity.
Then that's when the cracks start to show. Why do you love what you do?
Dealing with what peers are doing, own workload, it's a really difficult place to be. But it's when AI is asking you the questions. It's a long road back to build trust.
In terms of your role in the business, what does that entail? And how big is the people team?
And 1,700 people across the company. I think listening is the route to understanding.
I credit to you and what you're doing.
Thank you.
And the team at Miro, they're very lucky to have you. Hello and welcome to the Meeting with HR podcast. My name is Elly, I'm your host and I'm co-founder of EDA, where we are eradicating boring surveys for good with our gamified survey platform. Now, today I am joined by the wonderful Sam. Hello, Sam.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast. You are Head of Employee Performance and Experience at Miro.
Yes.
And you have shaped the company culture at Miro through huge growth, AI transformations, and challenging restructures across around 1,700 employees.
Yeah.
So you've built listening frameworks at Miro. You've helped to retain some talent during some really challenging times.
Yeah. And
you've built their human sustainability program as well. So it's safe to say that you know a thing or two about people at work, and we're going to unpack a lot of that today. So welcome to the podcast. I feel very lucky to have you. Before we dive into all of the employee experience type of stuff and the work stuff, what I like to do is start the podcast to help the listeners know who I'm sat with and find out a little bit more about you. So behind that kind of big, important work title in employee experience, who is Sam outside of work?
So yeah, thank. I mean, it's lovely to be here. Thank you very much. And yeah, when you read it back, it's been a very busy few years at Miro.
Yeah.
Outside work, I'm the owner-operator of an 11-year-old. I like I'm running marathons. That's taken most of my life outside work for the last few years. Okay. Yeah, I've spent many years traveling, living overseas. I moved back to the UK about 6 years ago.
Where did you live? Where were you?
So I was in Indonesia for a couple of years, then Slovakia, Thailand, Hong Kong, Tanzania, India, and Abu Dhabi most recently, and then moved back. So my interest has always been like exploring, seeing the world, learning, basically.
Just a few places then.
Yeah, I feel very, very, very privileged, very lucky to have had that experience.
And what was your favourite place to live? Where would you go back to?
They're all amazing. I'd say in India, Calcutta has a very, very big part of my heart. So I'd always be drawn back there. But everywhere was amazing.
Wow, wonderful. And was it work that took you around all of those places?
Yeah, so I was working for British Council for quite a long time. So I was kind of posted around quite a lot. Okay. So yeah, every 2 years, basically, sort of, making that move. But then eventually, with a child, we need a bit of stability. So moved back. Yeah, 2000. Yeah, just after Brexit. It's an interesting time to come back.
Interesting choice, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's an amazing journey so far. And whereabouts are you now? So you're in the south.
In Cambridge.
Yeah.
Wonderful
part of the world. And then in terms of your work journey, so you touched upon it a little bit there with your travelling. So tell me a little bit about what drew you into working in the people space in the first place.
The very honest answer is I moaned enough about HR and people that somebody said, will you do it then? And so I was like, oh, I'll give it a go. Okay. And then quickly learned that, it's not as easy as it looks from the outside. But yeah, I was in like very sort of operational, sort of leadershipy kind of roles. And just my struggles with people processes and understanding how things were and my tendency to kind of like try and do things my way. Mm-hmm. And then, eventually I sort of complained about it enough that someone was like, well, you need to come in and try it for yourself. I was like, yeah.
Where was that step that you then went into the kind of people space?
That was sort of, towards the end of my time in British Council. So I moved, I was in a more operational leadership role and then moved into a change comms role. And from that moved more into engagement. So I've always been sort of really interested in change and transformation. Mm-hmm. And so people change, people transformation. So, and then when I moved back to Cambridge, it was to Cambridge Assessment, which is now Cambridge University Press and Assessment. So that was engagement into experience. And so that's been the journey. But I think one of the strengths, being as I don't have that people background. I didn't come through the CIPD HR route, which kind of really helps in some ways, but also like doesn't in other ways. So yeah, I've always just been interested in how we try and innovate around people things.
Yeah, it gives you a different lens when you're arriving at the people experience, I guess.
Yeah.
You came to it with a bit of a frustration from your experience, then you're trying to almost fix what you didn't have or bring what you didn't have to an organisation, I guess.
Yeah, I think the way that I was describing it, it's very easy to look at things and go, that's not how you should do it.
Yeah. I
think there's a sort of empathy that you need sort of around that. Well, that it's also quite difficult to say how you should do it as well. And that's definitely been my learning. Is that it is easy from the sidelines to say we shouldn't do it like that.
Yeah.
But then actually trying to do the right thing is also quite difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're in the trenches as a leader or as an employee and you've got workload super high, you're stretched, you're stressed, you've got, I guess, that middle management piece, right? And that squeeze of you've got a team reporting into you, you perhaps a delivering manager as well. So you've got your own job and roles and responsibilities, and then you've got to manage upwards and do all your leadership tasks and things like that. You're kind of getting squeezed in the middle.
Yeah. And I think, that's held true through my career. Whichever side you're on, the squeezed middle, the pressure that's on managers.
Yeah.
Exactly as you say, like dealing from above, dealing from below, dealing with what peers are doing, own workload. It's a really difficult place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So. It's not for the faint-hearted anyway.
No.
And then you touched upon employee experience there. You mentioned the employee experience. How do you personally define what that is, if you had to?
I think my definition of it is understanding and influencing how people feel at work.
Okay.
And it's the understanding, that's data, insight. Again, I think empathy, putting all the bits together, and then the feeling, that sort of the engagement, sentiment, confidence, or all those things. And then at work, like how does that apply to productivity and performance and all those things? So yeah, those are the two sides, and this is the data side and then the action side.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good definition. And what do you think good looks like in that space? If you to say this is what really strong, good employee experience looks like, what are the type of things that you look out for?
So it's changed a bit recently. I think it used to be sort of engagement. I think, more and more. And I've been doing some work with Culture Amp at the moment, who I know might be a competitor. But,
it's all good.
But there's I think everyone in the space is friends together, but looking at what it takes to sort of achieve peak performance.
Yeah.
And I think they've been doing really interesting research, which has really shaped how I've thought about it over the last year. So it's not just sort of engagement, sense of satisfaction, it's being engaged in the work and the company and having a really engaging culture, but also the confidence that you can win as a company, or you can win as a team. And those two things together drive peak performance and drive towards like sustainable performance. So you need to get a lot of those elements right. So good really looks like people doing what they love, where they love, with the belief that it's going to make a difference and it's going to drive success.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of the sweet spot, which is difficult to achieve. Yeah. But when you do achieve it, I think that's when people start flying and teams start flying and companies start flying as well.
And it's very tricky to achieve it when you've got 1,700 employees, right, at Miro. Where you've got thousands of people to kind of get on the bus with you. So you've got to set the tone of, this is the direction the business is going in, and have such open and clear communication from the offset of someone joining the business of, this is the direction we're going in. We want to give you the best experience and environment for you to be able to flourish as an individual. And then as a company, you'll adapt and change as through the years with what's happening with the economic climate and things like that. The company's going to change. So the employees need to change with that company and the relationship, right?
Yeah.
We always talk about it and kind of compare it to a romantic relationship. Bear with me.
I get where you're coming from.
In the sense of, open communication, regular communication, checking in. And throughout a romantic relationship, individuals change and adapt, and the journey that they're on and where they want to go. They might want to travel and see the world, and then
Yeah.
country and things like this, where actually if you don't check in regularly and keep that tightness and that closeness of the relationship, then that's when the cracks start to show.
Yeah.
So we often talk about the workplace experience being not too dissimilar to a romantic experience in a sense. I don't have any research to back that up, but maybe we'll do it one day.
I'm sure there's research. I always use the same analogy, and like, yeah, it's like any relationship. Sometimes you split up, and sometimes you drift apart, and sometimes you change together, and like, yeah, that's fine. But I think, yeah, when we go through like the really painful times, like layoffs, you see the same experience, I think, to splitting up.
Yeah, absolutely.
With a long-term partner, it's like it's a huge part of your life. Like, yeah, how much time do we spend with work?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot. So yeah, I think the analogy holds up. I'm sure there's research out there.
We'll find some. And then in terms of Miro, where you're based now, how long have you been with Miro, Connor?
It feels like a very long time. 3 years.
Okay.
3 years.
And for those that haven't heard of Miro, which it would really surprise me if they haven't, tell me about the company.
So Miro started off as a virtual whiteboard. So it was a way for people to collaborate virtually and remotely. Obviously, that sort of the pandemic, that there was a huge sort of market there. It then sort of evolved into virtual collaboration. So a lot of systems for collaboration, and is now sort of virtual collaboration, but an innovation workspace. So kind of end to end, how do teams, specifically design teams, product teams, but there's use cases everywhere, innovate with each other. And so we've just sort of pivoted in the last few months to really AI driven, so AI forward. And the product, I loved the product before I joined. I love seeing the product. What it is now genuinely blows my mind. Like what you can do with AI and how it really fosters innovation and creativity. And that's sort of, what we're really focused on at the moment.
We use it a lot in our business for, project management and workflows and things like that. So it helps us organize a lot of different projects that we have running at the same time and keep everyone on the same page. And we can go back to this kind of one source of truth, which are these boards that we create. So we're also big fans of the product as well.
Yeah, it's taken over my. I use it for. I plan holidays on Miro. Like, yeah. I redecorated my son's room recently. Planned it all out on Miro boards and visualized it. Like, it's taken over my life.
Brilliant, I love that. And in terms of your role at the business, so what does that entail? So
I'm part of our people leadership team, and so I work really closely with leaders across the business, other sort of sense of excellence in people to, again, sort of listen to what employees are doing, look at the data and insights, and then shape programs and influence communications and like some of the big processes to try and support people to be at their best, basically. Which sounds great. It's more difficult than perhaps that sounds, but so that role of really focusing on what it takes to perform, to be sustainably productive, and just make sure that we as a people team are focused in the right direction, basically.
And how big is the people team that you have around you?
So the whole team is 54 people at the moment, and so that's 1,700 people across the company. So we're quite focused. A lot of that is recruitment and acquisition as well.
And you've built multiple listening frameworks. So when you first joined Miro, how did you firstly understand the business and approach kind of understanding how they listen to their employees now and assess and see what's going on? And then how did you decide what you then wanted to change or implement in that kind of employee listening space?
To get meta about it, I think I'd say it was a good couple of weeks of pretty solid listening and looking at what was there. I think Miro's been through hypergrowth. I think my preference for when I take on roles, I like that kind of fixer, builder, like problem identification. It goes with the job. I think listening is the route to understanding. So I think one of the things that I was looking at is like the metrics that really matter. I think time to action, confidence in what we hear, the applicability of solutions as well. So we did a sort of audit around that basically. And I think, I gave myself the metric of speeding up our time to action from weeks to hours. And that's something I've been really working on over 3 years, is how do you launch a survey? Maybe a boring survey, or like more interesting sort of survey or listening approaches where we can turn around really quickly and be able to be fairly predictive about what we're seeing, or prescriptive about what we should do. How we build that credibility with employees and leaders, and then prove the value of that. And so I think that came from sort of really looking back at what we'd done, what perceptions were around that, certainly leadership perceptions, employee perceptions, and then sort of, focusing on some of the big things that we need to focus on. So I think, one of the first things was just making sure we have as much transparency as we can with results, as much rigor to the analysis of results as we can, and as much applicability to the context that we're in as we can as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And staying consistent with that, I
Yeah.
imagine, because it's all well and good doing it kind of once, and employees see something happen once. Okay, maybe they've listened to what we all have to say here and acted upon it. These are the actions, and how quick do those actions then come into fruition, right? But if it only happens once, it's actually, this is what we're going to be doing continuously moving forward. So we're here for the long run with this kind of listening framework, it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's a lot of like framework development, and it's really AI powered at the moment as well. Like, how do we gather insight, quickly process it, apply it to context, deliver it back, and say, there's something we can launch and do. And within the constraint that, you're surveying people, and the context is constantly changing. Like, the world is changing massively, and everything is changing. So we've got to be really quick and really agile. And I think a lot of the sort of traditional things that you would do. So when 5, 6, 10 years ago, you could put something in place and be relatively confident that in a year's time, there would still be some stability. I don't think we've got that luxury anymore.
No.
Like, we're looking like 2-3 months ahead and saying like, this is going to get us through this stage.
Yeah. The world's moving so quickly.
Yeah.
And you mentioned AI there, so let's go down there, shall we? We'll pick up the AI side of things. So you use AI in your product and in the kind of outward facing side of things that you do, and then internally you use AI quite a lot in your people team, right? So can you kind of talk me through or help me understand how you're using AI right now? And then if you're allowed to share what you've got kind of coming up, if there's anything exciting that you've got in the people space.
Yeah, so we use our own AI products. So something that I do a lot. So we've got our sidekicks in Miro boards. So sort of I've developed some sidekicks which sit on our Miro boards, which are sort of, we've fed the source with a lot of best practice. So while we're designing frameworks or designing presentations, we've got a sidekick who sort of hovers over, advising on, positioning, best practice, and providing some coaching insights and coaching questions back. So we use that quite a lot, again, to speed up the time to action. We use Miro flows to sort of, make sure that, I don't know if you're familiar with Miro flows. Basically, you can connect items on a Miro board together. So if you change one thing, it can change the whole lot. And then with some instructions in the middle. Again, just like productivity for prioritization and sequencing and applying to context. And then something I'm quite proud of this I've been building recently is a survey comment analyzer.
Okay.
So we can take survey comments and run sort of linguistic, semantic analysis against employee engagement, best practices and research. And the main aim sort of looking at through that is, what are people not saying in surveys? So we want to do a sort of silence analysis. So when we ask about AI, for example, and great, we've got all this language around experimentation, all the language around like fun and tool access and all that sort of stuff. But if we don't have much language around ethics and that sort of side of things and regulation, then there's probably a gap there, and that would indicate where we are on that sort of AI maturity curve.
That's fascinating. So you've built that to spot what people are perhaps not saying in their written texts.
Yeah, exactly. So we sort of go like, when it comes to confidence in leadership, for example, what are people not saying that we would expect them to say? What does that say about psychological safety or sort of maturity or perceptions? So yeah, that gives an extra layer. And again, so the aim behind that is we can quickly import that from a survey. And again, we're trying to get to a point where a survey closes, and by the next day, we're in a position to give a pretty strong recommendation on what we should be doing. I think previously, when I started, and certainly in previous organizations I've worked, it could be 6, 7, 8 weeks for someone to go through and read all the survey comments and manually code them and apply them, and then you'd have to get someone to review. I think we can cut that down to a couple of hours.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think employees move on, right? We're human beings, and like you said, our attention spans and how quickly the world's changing, how quickly we digest information now.
Yeah.
Because the average attention span at the moment is 8 seconds long, which has decreased by 4 seconds over the past decade. And in the next decade, it's predicted to decrease to 4 seconds, our attention span, which is crazy. And it's quite scary, I think.
Yeah,
and you
scary.
can feel yourself doing it. I try and not do it. I try and, get into reading a book a little bit more and not be distracted by all of the noise and the notifications and all the things that you have to do.
Yeah.
But it's the way that the world is going, right? So, and you'll know this with the surveys that you do, and the same for us at EDA. If you are sending out a survey that takes employees longer than 10 to 12 minutes, you've lost their attention, right?
Yeah.
Because we have such short attention spans, we have busy roles and busy lives, and then if it takes you weeks to then analyze those results, employees do not really see the validity in these surveys. What's the point? Because also when the actions come out, they've forgotten what they wrote weeks ago. They can't remember the day before, never mind what they wrote on the survey.
Yeah.
And life moves on, right? The next few weeks, the business is going through a lot of change constantly. So it needs to keep up with the way that the world's going, right? So yeah, that's super interesting. That's amazing that you've built that yourself as well.
Yeah, so it's prototype, and I think it's 100 times more difficult to build a product than a prototype. Mm-hmm. So it is prototype, but it's working quite well. And we had a AMA recently, and we got the survey comment analyzer, and I asked it to predict. It predicted 40% of the questions that came up at the AMA. Mm-hmm. So that's quite. I want to get that to like 75%, but again, like what we feed it with is what's going to come up at an AMA, what's on people's minds. Yeah, how should we address it? Yeah, basically, and I want it to sort of be that coaching tool for me, for my teams, for people who engage with it as well.
Brilliant. And how do you then take the use of technology and AI, and which is amazing, and it's that time saving process that you mentioned. What parts of it then do you think still need the human touch and the human element?
So I think all of it needs the human element. I think that's one of our sort of core principles. We're like human in the loop. Mm-hmm. So the human always needs to be in the loop of AI. Yeah. And I say this quite a lot. I think the very start of kind of AI usage, people are asking AI questions. And that's great, but it's essentially Google. But it's when AI is asking you the questions. And if you can develop an AI that asks you the questions and coach you, that's the human in the loop. So it should be amplifying your, as a human's, abilities, not just providing answers for you. That makes sense. So I think, we always try and make sure there is that human in the loop, that there is always that. It's an automation of a process, but it takes a manual intervention to turn it into something. And so, with the survey comment analyzer, it always comes back with, at the end, does this resonate with your experience? Like, which part of this would you challenge? And again, you can sort of get into that, hopefully into a bit of a dialogue with it to apply the context. I think one of the risks of AI, it's great, but it doesn't have the context.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I always say, like with survey presentations, I can come in with my red boxes and my green boxes, and I can give you percentages. I can't tell you the context. And without that, those numbers don't really mean too much. So that's where that human in the loop is super important. Of just like, you need to apply the context, and the AI needs to be asking you, what is the context?
Is there anything about AI that makes you nervous or scared?
I mean, the fact it will eventually destroy humanity, but that's
a small thing.
Yeah, that's like 3 years away. So there's plenty of other things that are going to do that first. I think the what scares me with AI, maybe, or sort of the risk of AI, is an over-reliance on it. I think one of the things that we really have to, I sort of am always super vigilant of, is training it to give an honest answer, not the answer that you want to hear. And we need to give it very clear instructions that says, don't sugarcoat, don't tell me what I want to hear. So I think, AI becomes that echo chamber a little bit, unless you tell it not to. I think it's still reliant on what humans give it. Like no matter where it's sort of like the LLM's built on and what its source is, like it's all reliant on humans like adding into it. So we still need, as humans, to be generating the content. Otherwise, we're just going to get stuck at a certain kind of information level. And then obviously, there's what you can do with AI. We see it on Grok and things like that, like the safeguarding, the ethics. It's developing at such a speed that it's very hard to keep up with the ethics side of it. So that's, I think, big risks. And there's a lot more to it than that. But I think those are some of the things where I think I have a sort of pause for thoughts around it.
And action it with care, right? And approaching it with care and consideration of moving at the speed of light. So what we do, how you implement it in a business needs to, I know, obviously take into account lots of policies and the frameworks, and there's lots of things that we talk about and we implement, and we just need to consider a lot with it before we try and just shoehorn in any type of AI feature just because. And I think a lot of organizations or products are perhaps being guilty of that. Which we're hyper aware of doing, and we want to make sure that it's a real useful positioning and use of AI and any features that we embed into our platform, for sure.
One of the things I always say about this is like the phrase implementing AI will sound as mad to our kids as the phrase implementing the internet would do to us now. Like very quickly, it's not going to be implemented. It's just there, and everyone's using it because it's in everything. And there's probably that generation coming into the workforce now, which AI is default. If you like started using AI at 15, it's just default in everything you do. And so companies implementing AI will be like, it will be sort of madness to that generation. Okay, because that's what I'm looking for.
And then when it comes to, I guess, the more challenging side of the employee experience, you retained a lot of talent during a big restructure at the organisation. You've been through lots of different moments and periods. How do you design, handle and navigate a challenging process like that?
With difficulty. It's painful for everyone involved. It's obviously more painful for people who are being laid off, but there is pain for whichever side you're on, and people who remain afterwards. And that pain is the trauma of going through it, the survivor guilt, all of those things. And so we had to be really intentional, I think, about the risks of losing people in the 6 months after that happens because of the pain and trauma. Like as an organizations will recover, they'll sort of bounce back, but there are people within those organizations who are going to drive that recovery really strongly. And again, I think talking to peers and other companies, the solution is often sort of money. We can financially incentivize people. We can increase salaries. And that's great for 2 or 3 months. But we know money isn't really a motivator. But if you focus on growth and the value signals, and it's not reward or recognition, it's recognition, but also noticing people's development needs and emotional states. And then how you identify who those people are in the organizations that drive that. And it's not just the best paid people. It's the people who are on the fastest development tracks, or the people who organize the culture events in the office, or the people who remember everyone's birthdays and bring them together. So on a fairly limited budget, we're trying to identify across the organization who those people were that are just really key to the overall experience. The people who are, say, in the offices bringing people together, or who do have really great relationships with customers, or who are building skills that we're going to need in 2 or 3 years' time, and then working with them to try to provide what they need, whether that be from a manager, from the company, the people around them. And so we use coaching as a tool to sort of to do that. And again, the approach we took on that was putting everyone into like a coaching program. So that this is entirely self-directed. And if you want your coaching to be, how do you transition to another company? That's fine. You can do that. If you want your coaching to be, how do you move up to the next level, get promotion, then that's fine. If it's how do you sort of build transferable skills, and we're not getting involved in that, but just know that we're here to support you in any decision that you make, and we're going to invest in that decision. And I think, that sort of license to do that, and that sort of license to explore, I think shows a certain amount of value and shows a certain amount of trust. And I think, within that cohort that we identified, more than 95% stayed for that 6 to 9 month period, which is great. And obviously, what we want. We also want people to make the decisions that are right for them as well. But if people are going, we want them to leave happy leavers. Like, we want them to leave on the best terms. So
it's an amazing achievement in really tough times when people feel unsafe and uncertain. And sometimes even as a leader of an organisation, you can say as much as you want. People will naturally, if they are worried or concerned for their own life, they can write their own narratives, right? And it's a scary moment for people. And like you said, if many years ago I got made redundant, and in a way I felt fine. It was the people that were left in the company that I felt sorry for, because there was this type of nervousness of, okay, we've been through this round, and like you said, that kind of survival mentality of, is this going to happen again? And is it going to be me? And should I be worried? Should I be looking elsewhere? What should I be doing? And then I think no matter sometimes what you say as an organisation and how you act, people will write their own narratives, right? So it has to show up in your actions, and then consistency against those actions. Which that transparency and building that trust with employees to say, we are doing this and this is why we're doing it. So like your coaching program, and there's this big shift, I think, now between what a modern leader looks like is actually more of that coach.
Yeah.
How can I help you as a human being, an individual? Yes, you're at this company now.
Yeah.
We're going to do as much as we can to develop you as an individual, but that kind of coaching mentality, a bit like a sports team, is the way the kind of modern leader is going, I'd say.
100%. And I think, it's a long road back to build trust. And like a coaching program that retains, it's great, but there are 1,500 other people. And so that the road back to trust is long and difficult. And the key to it is managers, is leaders, and coaching is super important. So we have a manager framework, which is coach, communicate, and drive. So we ask our managers to do 3 things: coach daily, weekly, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a week, whatever it is. Like, coach people, help. Clarity is kindness. Give good feedback. Focus. Be intentional. Communicate. Just always be communicating, and drive results. Drive performance. Drive towards objectives. And forget, and that's kind of similar to sports teams, but we want that sort of coaching ethos. And again, I always come back to reward recognition. Reward's super important. We have to pay people. We have to benefits super important. Great. Recognition, celebrating when people win is really important. The third layer, which never really gets talked about, is that layer of just noticing people when someone's off track, or someone has a development need, or someone's ready to move. Noticing it and being able to step in and do something about it. And the power that comes from that is huge. And if it's a cliche, isn't it? No one remembers company performance management systems, but they all remember how a manager managed performance. They'll always remember how I will always remember how a certain manager made me feel at the time. I have had some great ones. I've had some rubbish ones. I remember the feeling. And what the great ones did is say, this was off track. This is how you get it back on track. Or I've got a development course that I think you might be interested in, or I think you might need. They're the ones that are really going to drive performance.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That kind of layer of emotional intelligence that you mentioned of leadership that people perhaps sometimes don't speak about too much. And it's that type of performance-based leader who's giving the best results, and actually who's emotionally in tuned with their workforce and their team, right?
Emotional, yeah. And I again, it's a bit reductive, and I say it's slightly tongue. Recognition's too easy. I think it's an easy out.
Yeah.
I think we should recognize people 100%, but it's too easy as a manager or leader to have like a little recognition program where you go link it to behaviors, and we make sure that everyone in the team is recognized once a year, and that's job done. Like, it's nice, but it's the coaching, the emotional attunement, like that level of helping people grow and develop, that is far more powerful than the reward and recognition. And that, when we look at retention and what drives retention and what drives attrition, it's very rarely reward, really. It's career growth and development and that feeling of being valued by the organization.
Yeah.
And that comes, I think, from driving performance and driving growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. I guess it's connecting your employees to the business, isn't it, as much as you can, and measuring it consistently and spotting the gaps, which is exactly what we talk about constantly with. It's tricky to measure on lots of different things sometimes. You can through employee retention, feeling, sentiment, listening, really strong employee listening programs, and then just constantly keeping it on. You have to, which is that kind of continuous listening element to what you're doing at Miro.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to do our quick fire round now.
Okay.
Which we do with every guest.
Yep.
It's super straightforward. There is zero judgment at all. I'm just going to fire a couple of things at you.
Am I allowed to sit on the fence, or do I have to go to a position?
You have to go to a position, let's say. I'm going to fire them at you, and you just have to go with your gut and just say which one you're kind of leaning towards more. So we're going to start with hybrid working. Here to stay or gone by 2030? I think,
I think, yeah. So hybrid work is here to stay. And I think, like proper hybrid working is, we trust you to work in the right place. We're not going to say 2 days in the office or 3 days in the, we just trust you to get your work done in the best place. So I think here to stay, but the term will disappear.
Unlimited paid time off, brilliant or a disaster?
Brilliant in theory, disaster in practice. I think brilliant in the right jurisdiction.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go on brilliant if well applied. I think we obviously see a lot of that negative side of unlimited PTO, that it creates a lot of pressure not to take. There isn't the same kind of payout at the end when people leave. But if applied with the best of intention, that it's through a well-being lens and through a sustainable performance lens, I think brilliant.
Yeah.
But like anything, you need not to corrupt it with the wrong intentions behind it.
Microsoft Teams messages at 11 p.m. helpful or horrifying?
Helpful, again, on the proviso that boundaries are clear.
Yeah.
So again, Miro is a very globally dispersed company. The people I work most closely with are in Amsterdam, Austin, LA, Denver. So a Teams message at 11 p.m. is right in someone else's working day. So I don't mind, because I'll mute my Slack from 8 p.m. onwards. So I think helpful from global collaboration, horrifying if it's in the same time zone as people. But I think, I think that the pendulum is shifting. The work pendulum is shifting from, we need the company to have a policy that says you don't send messages outside office hours, to we're going to support you if you set your own boundaries.
Yeah.
So helpful if the company culture supports you to do that.
Okay, we've talked about it quite a bit. Reward or recognition?
Recognition, but recognition, positive recognition, and recognition of growth needs and development needs. And I would say, reward, recognition, or noticing. I think that is that third layer that I would really go for. Rewards hygiene. Recognition is motivational.
I think I know what you're going to say with this one, but continuous listening, a future standard or data overload?
Standard. We have to be listening continuously, and we have to be data literate and data confident, and really able to move very quickly from signal to action. So continuous listening all the way. I have a bias on that one.
Me too. AI and people teams, a game changer or a governance headache?
Game changer. Absolute game changer. Governance is super important, but again, I come back to like the internet analogy. There's a self-governance and a societal governance that comes in, but game changer, what it allows you to do is huge and transformational. And again, I don't know many HR teams that have evil intent. I think if you come with positive intent, it's absolutely transformational.
Gen Z at work, a dream or a nightmare?
A dream. I always sort of reject the generational divide a little bit. I think it's quite culturally specific. But yeah, the more generations in the workforce, the more we're getting people into work, different perspectives. I think, yeah. And AI fluency, digital native, all that stuff. So 100%.
Brilliant. And before we wrap up, Sam, why do you love what you do?
Because I think it's endlessly fascinating. I think it's never the same challenge. There are the same challenges, but it flexes and it looks different. And I think that the world is changing so fast that there are always opportunities to make things better and improve. And I think, yeah, work changes so fast and people change so fast that there is always scope for innovation and progress. And like, there's a lot of shit goes on in the world.
Absolutely.
Like, I think we can make work a good place to be and a sort of something that provides nourishment for people, and like, we can depain work. And I really believe that we can make work something that kind of is a safe, good space for people. And I know it's really difficult and I know that's utopian, but I genuinely believe that we can make that difference.
Fantastic. It's been amazing speaking to you. Thank you so much. I've really, really enjoyed the conversation. And I think people will take a lot from what you've been saying. And I feel like lots of people want to get in touch with you, particularly around how you've kind of shortened that the gap of time to return actions to employees. I think that's fascinating. Your approach to people and how modern it is and forward thinking is brilliant. So yeah, credit to you and what you're doing.
Thank you.
And the team at Miro, they're very lucky to have you. If people who are listening wanted to connect to you, can they? They can.
Of course, 100%. Yes, 100%. Always love talking to people. LinkedIn is the best way.
Brilliant. We'll link it so people can get in touch if they want to connect. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. It's been amazing having you.
No, thank you for having me. It's really enjoyable. And yeah, it's always humbling to have these conversations. So thank you very much.
No worries.